How's it going, Knicks fans? Welcome back to another episode of Fireside Knicks. I'm your host, Dylan Backer, and today I'm joined by my brother and co-host, Justin Backer. And today we're doing a little something different. It's the middle of the offseason. Not much has been going on outside of the FIBA World Cup, so we're going to lay out some of our season predictions for this upcoming season. Yes, I know it's a little early. The season doesn't start for another 2 months, but we got some hot takes also that we want to put out there. So without further ado, I'm just going to pass it off to my brother, Justin, and let him start this off. So go for it, man.
Yeah, as you alluded to, we do have some hot takes in here today, but I'm going to start off with a pretty give and take. That's something that a lot of people can agree on. And I think Brunson and Randall are both going to make All NBA next season. I think they're both going to be members of the third team. I think Brunson's also going to make his first All Star appearance, obviously. So I think both of them will be All NBA players. We know how great they are by now. We've said it over and over again. Brunson was phenomenal in the second half last season, averaged about 27, 28 points a game from January till the end of the year, and that continued in the playoffs. So that's a very large sample size of what he's able to do over the course of a full season. So I think, he's obviously going to make his first All NBA team. There really isn't much needed to be said about that. I think they're both going to be fantastic next season. And the next thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about RJ Barrett a little bit here. Now, RJ Barrett's a bit of a weird situation here. He's a young player, and he's supposed to be like our cornerstone player, drafted him third overall, but it just really hasn't come to fruition. We've seen him be great for periods of time where, you go, oh, this guy can be, the third option on a championship team, second option on a championship team, whatever. And then he goes through stretches where you go, is this guy even like able to be in the rotation? Like he goes into stretches where he can't buy a shot for a week and a half, and it makes you really question his role in the team. So my hot take is if he has a treacherous start to the season, like another just horrific start to the season like he's been known for, I think he might get traded at the deadline halfway through the season, or I think the Knicks will at least explore their options with him, because it's becoming to a point now where you have to decide, do you continue to prioritize his development, or do you make the transition into, you have to move these assets to make a move to become a championship contender? You have to really make a decision here if he's part of your future at this point, because, Brunson kind of came over and took the team over, I guess, if you will. It was supposed to be Barrett's team coming into this season. We saw how great he was 2 seasons ago when Randall went down. Barrett averaged, I think, 24, 25 points in the second half of the season. He was great. He was in a primary ball handler role. He looked phenomenal. We think all of us know that. So, and his inconsistencies are still apparent to this day. I mean, I don't know how much you're paying attention to the FIBA Cup, but he was phenomenal in the first few exhibition games, and then they just played a game the other day, and he was 1 for 10, I believe, from the field. So I mean, the inconsistencies are still there. It's maddening with him because the potential is really there, but it's just he can't put it all together in one season. We've seen him shoot well for primary scorer's role in one season, but he's never done all of that in one season at the same time. You know what I mean? Like his second season was his great shooting season. His second season and the season after that, he was a good defender. 2021, he was obviously, primary scorer, like I said, 2021, 2022. And last year, I don't really know what his role in the team was. He was kind of just there. He's just in a weird place, and I think if he has another horrible start to the season, the Knicks are going to explore their options with him, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does get moved. So yeah, that's kind of where I want to start with this. So I want to hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, no. First off, I want to touch on your Barrett take. I think that it's a little bit of a hot take. I will say that, but I also think it is a possibility. I mean, Barrett has had his struggles pretty often, as we know. Last season was pretty inconsistent. I use the term consistently inconsistent because it felt like he was always going just back and forth with good games and then just not so good games. It felt like that was a recurring trend all season. So that's the term I use for it. But I honestly, maybe he could get traded. He really could. And I know some Knicks fans are going to be like, oh, why would they trade, a 22, 23-year-old wing who has so much potential and could be better than all these other guys we could trade for? What you said, though, makes perfect sense in that, we have a window to reach the championship at this point. You have Jalen Brunson on your team and Julius Randle on your team for the next 4 seasons. That is your window right there to win a championship. You also locked up guys like Josh Hart and DiVincenzo for that time frame as well. That is your time to win the championship, right? And if RJ Barrett is still performing inconsistently, it looks like his fit on the team is still kind of rocky, not really like the best situation for him, then maybe it is best to move on from him. Maybe that is something they should consider. Me personally, I don't think he ends up getting traded. Just seeing the outlook, realistically, I don't think he does during the season. I feel like if he's going to get traded, it would be in the offseason. I don't know if they would do it midway through the season and kind of shake up any sort of chemistry that could possibly be built during the season when they are trying to get to the to the Eastern Conference Finals or even an NBA Finals. So I personally don't think that that's going to happen where he gets traded midseason, but it is something to at least look at. I do think it could happen, but I want to touch also on the Brunson and Randall stuff you mentioned. I fully agree they're going to both be all NBA. I actually think Randall could make all NBA second team. I honestly do think he can, considering all that. Now that he just played a full season with Jalen Brunson and kind of formed some great chemistry with him, I feel like Randall can have a really good, even better season than he did last season. Now that, and hopefully too, that he's fully healthy this time. Hopefully the ankle surgery he had doesn't hamper him during the season, that he fully recovers and gets all of his bursts back and just becomes an even better player. I still think Randall is developing in a way, honestly, and it sounds crazy to say for a guy who's 28 years old, but I feel like, we're still seeing stuff that we haven't fully seen out of Randall, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like after 2021, you thought Randall wasn't going to get any better than that, but he did just that last season. So I feel like we may possibly not have even seen the best of him just yet. Maybe that's a bit of a hot take, but I think he really could make all NBA second. And I firmly think Brunson is making all NBA third team. Yes, I know the point guard position is very, top heavy and there's a bit of a logjam of talent in that area, but Brunson is that good. And if there's anything we know about Jalen Brunson and his career arc, it's that he's been ascending as a player every single season. Every season, he gets better off of it. He's always been his biggest critic. He always knows he can get better at anything. He could drop 50 points in a game, and he'll say in the post-game presses that he could have done this better or this better. So he's always trying to be the best version of himself that he possibly can be. I think Brunson will continue to grow. I think, now that he got a full season under Tom Thibodeau and playing with this Knicks team under his belt, and that now that most of the team is coming back, so he's got the chemistry with them, and the new guys they brought in, like DiVincenzo, he already has chemistry with them, so that nothing's going to change really in there. It's only going to get better, I think, for Brunson. So I think he's definitely making all NBA third team. That's a hot take for me. But my personal hot take, and this is something that, while we're on the topic of all NBA teams, I think Mitchell Robinson can make all defense. I think he can make all defense. I think he's, been that good of a defender. I think having that postseason experience was the biggest thing for him, especially since seeing how he dominated Jared Allen and Evan Mobley in round one of the playoffs last season. I think Mitchell Robinson can really elevate his game, grow off of that, and become, an all defensive type player. I think he already is an all defense type player, but I think he can actually make an all defense team with the way he plays. I really do. Yes, you got to limit the foul trouble and all that stuff, and, actually be able to stay on the court and stay healthy. I think those are two big caveats right there that I got to mention. But I think the talent is there. I think the talent is all the way there. I think, his rim protection is phenomenal. His rebounding, of course, we all know it's great. I think he can also get double-digit rebounds per game this year. I think that's a possibility. I know Randall takes a lot of rebounds as well, so that might, lessen the number for Mitch a little bit, but I think Mitch is that good inside that he can elevate that number to like 10 rebounds a game, maybe even 11 rebounds a game if he really steps up his game. But I think he can make an all defense team. I definitely think that's a possibility. I think he's going to grow in year 6. I think he's going to have a phenomenal year. We made a video about a month ago about discussing Mitchell Robinson, whether he can take that big leap in year 6. And I truly do think he can. Playing with these guys and getting that playoff experience was the biggest thing. I think that playoff experience was like huge for his development, because if we remember in 2021, yeah, the team made the playoffs, but he was hurt, so he didn't play. Nerlens Noel played instead. He never really got that playoff experience. This was his first ever taste of the postseason, and he performed well for what it was worth. I don't count the Miami series as much because obviously he didn't play well in the Miami series, but everybody except Jalen Brunson did not play well in the Miami series. So I don't like to look at that too deeply. The Cleveland series was huge for me because Cleveland's front court is obviously very intimidating in Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, and Mitchell Robinson made them look like children. He made them look like children, and I think he played so well. I think that did many wonders for his development down the road. I think he's going to have a phenomenal year 6 that could see an all-defensive team. I really do think that's going to happen. That's kind of one of my hot takes, though. I'm just going to pass it off to you and let you, kind of lay out some more predictions or hot takes or anything that you got in mind, so go for it.
Yeah, I agree with your Mitchell Robinson take. As I've alluded to in the past, I think he has all defense potential. I believe I made a podcast with Alex talking about Mitch about a month or so ago, where we talked about Robinson and we talked about his all defensive potential, and it's there. It's just he needs to stay healthy. That's the thing. If he can stay healthy for a full season, he's for sure in the running for an all defense team. I mean, he's one of the best rim protectors all in the NBA. So it's just the health. He hasn't stayed healthy. The skill is there. He can defend it at an all defense level. It's just if he's not available, he's not going to make a team. So that's where I stand on that. And something I also want to touch on right now too is I think Quentin Grimes is going to be in the conversation for most improved player next year. I think he's a sneaky candidate for that award. He only averaged about 11 points a game last year, but he did take substantial leaps. We saw it with both the eye test and his stats. They were both everything jumped across the board last season. It's only going to get better, I think, next season with Jalen Brunson. So the chemistry is starting to build. I think he's very important to the team, so his numbers are going to go up. I think his volume is going to go up. I wouldn't be surprised to see his points per game average go to like 15 or 16 a game. I think he's gonna get some votes for most improved player of the year. And yeah, obviously I won the award. I'm not saying that would be insanely bold to say, but I think he's definitely he's going to take a step forward next season. And yeah, and we touched on what we think our final season predictions are going to be, and we both agree on them. So I'm going to let Dylan go ahead and share what we said is going to happen as our final season prediction.
Right, so before I give my final season prediction, I do want to say your Quentin Grimes take, it's a bit of a spicy take. I'm not going to sit here and lie. I do think Quentin Grimes is going to have an improved year 3. I do. Now, to take the leap to most improved player, it's going to take a lot. I think it might take a little more than to raise the scoring average from 11 points to 15 or 16. I do think it'll take a little bit more than that to kind of be a finalist for that award. I do think he has a potential to reach that, though. I'm not going to sit here and act like he doesn't. We all know how good he is defensively. He had like the toughest defensive matchups out of anybody really in the entire NBA last season. He was always guarding the team's best player. We saw as the season got along, his confidence from offense, was kind of topsy-turvy. It felt like at times he was really confident, perfect level of confidence. Other times felt like he was too confident, and other times it felt like he had no confidence at all. And I think after the Josh Hart trade, his confidence kind of went down a little bit because his role decreased. We saw he was not really putting that much on the scoring output. He was scoring a lot less. He wasn't as efficient. I think, though, working the off season, I think the JJ Redick workout was a big thing. He even said it himself that it was probably the best 2 days he's had all summer. That was a quote that I saw from Ian Begley about that workout. So I think that, just working out with him is a huge thing, not only for his confidence, but just his game overall. I think he can get much better on the offense, grow some confidence, expand his game a little bit, of course, shoot the ball more. I think, I'd love to see him shoot the ball. We all know how good he is with that jumper, and it's so fast. It's so hard for others to contest that shot. So I just let it fly, dude. Let it fly. Obviously don't take bad shots. Don't take low percentage shots. But, if you have the space, take it. Know your shot. Know what you're comfortable with. Know what you're going to do before you get the ball. I think if he just does those things, he can definitely take a leap. Now, most improved, like I said, bit of a hot take. I'm not going to lie about it. I don't know if I can go as far to say he's going to be a most improved finalist, just being honest. But I do think he will improve. I just don't know if he'll take that level to become a most improved player of the year award finalist, because that would take a lot. I think for him to be able to do that, he'd have to elevate his scoring total to like 20 points a game. I really do think he'd have to take that kind of leap. And me personally, I don't think that's realistic, just because you have Brunson and Randall, of course, leading the charge, and Barrett is still here, of course. Now you have DiVincenzo, so he's going to get his minutes too. You brought back Josh Hart. So as unfortunate as it is, Quentin Grimes might end up with some of the lowest minutes overall in games. He's going to, I think Grimes is still going to start, but I also think when you look at like the stat sheet and you see who played how many minutes, I think Grimes is going to be on the lower end of that, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, you're trying to win games. You're not trying to focus too hard on development. You want to play the guys that are playing well together, but at the end of the day, we'll just have to see what happens on that. I think most improved, though, is a bit of a hot take. But anyways, with that being said, moving on to the final season predictions. So we both agreed on it. We discussed it before we got on here. So I'm just going to lay out mine first. It's very similar, but basically I believe the New York Knicks, their final record is going to be 49 wins, 33 losses. So a 2-game improvement from last season. I know it's not substantial, but I think that's still always good to have. I think they're going to be the fourth seed rather than the fifth seed they were this year. I think they're going to make the fourth seed. I do think they're the fourth best team in the Eastern Conference. I think the only teams you could really say that are definitely better than the Knicks is probably like Boston and Milwaukee. I don't even know if they're that much better, if Philly is that much better than the Knicks, but if we want to say that because they still have Embiid, fine, I'll live with it. But outside of that, I think the Knicks are going to be the fourth seed. I think they go 49-33. Now, I personally think they end up falling in the second round again. I think an Eastern Conference final a high possibility, but realistically speaking, I feel like they end up falling in the second round again. And then next offseason is when they decide, okay, we need to make a splash move to be able to become a true finals contender. That's what I think is going to happen. That may be a pessimistic prediction because obviously, as Knicks fans, we would love to see our team make the NBA finals. I think that they have a good chance to do it still. But I also think when I'm reading predictions like from guys like Bobby Marks, where he's basically got the Knicks in the finals, I think that's overrating us a little bit. I think the Knicks are going to be a good team. I don't think they're a finals team just yet, though. I think, unfortunately, as it is, they might fall in the second round. But we'll just have to see what happens. As we know, last season, they were completely unpredictable. I don't think any of them, to make the second round. I think the playoffs wasn't like too much of a reach, but making the second round, I don't think anybody had that penciled in coming into last season. So who knows what'll happen? This team can always surprise us. I'm excited to see what they do. Unfortunately, my ending is not all sunshine and flowers for them, but who knows? They could always do something surprising. But with that being said, I'm going to pass it off to you to give your overall season predictions and just anything else you got to say. So go for it.
Yeah, my final record prediction was the same exact record. I think they're going to finish with 49 wins. Now, that being said, I think there's a bit of a floor and a ceiling. I think if everything goes well next season, you could see them win 52, 53 games. Now, if everything goes wrong, now we're talking like 40 to 41 wins. But I think there's a clear ceiling and a floor there, And as far as the ending of the season goes, I actually think they're going to make the conference finals. I really do. Think about it. They were 2 games away from the conference finals this year against the Miami team that was just playing ridiculously well. You know what I mean? They were steamrolling everyone in the Eastern Conference, and they were so close to making the conference finals. You know what I mean? So I don't think conference finals happen at all. The conference finals, and I think they will. I really do. I don't think they're going to win in the conference finals. I don't think they will advance to the NBA finals, but I think that they will make an appearance in the conference finals next season. Now, like you said, some people are overrating them a little bit and putting them in finals predictions, which I think is absurd. I think that's a little crazy. They're not a finals team yet, but they can make a run at the conference finals. You know what I mean? I don't think that's out of the question at all. They're arguably the third or fourth best team in the East. It's like you said, the only, you can take Cleveland's better, you can say Philly's better if you want, but you could really go either way with that. We beat Cleveland in 5 games in the first round, so you could very easily say we're better than Cleveland. While they may have a better roster on paper, they have more star power or whatever, we beat them in the playoffs. So I mean, it's really like a give or take with that. I think it's pretty fair to say though that they're at least a top 5 team in the East. I don't think that's even like a question at all. I think that's pretty fair to say. I think most people would agree with that too. So yeah, as far as that goes, that's my final season prediction. So I'm going to pass it off to you and see what you have to say about that.
Yeah, no. So, an Eastern Conference Finals appearance, that's a bold take again. You've been coming out with some bold takes today, but hey, I respect it. And you know what? At the end of the day, those could all happen. They're not like the most outlandish things I've ever heard. I've heard some pretty wild takes on TV before. So, who knows what'll happen with this Knicks team. But, with all that being said, we would love to hear what you guys got to think about what we've said today, some of these takes and our predictions for next season. Do you think there's anything we missed? Do you think there's a different prediction out there that you think will happen? Let us know what you guys think. We would love to hear it. We come here to agree to disagree. So if you agree with some of our takes and our predictions, fantastic. If you don't, fantastic. We would love to hear why. So with that being said, make sure you follow us on all of our platforms. We're on X, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, Facebook, and of course this YouTube page. The audio version of these podcasts are on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Make sure you leave a 5-star rating on those. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on this YouTube video. And with that being said, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.